Welcome to Distress to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Raber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental health disorders out there, bipolar disorder. In each episode, we'll learn more about my personal journey with bipolar 2 disorder, how I've struggled with it, and how I've learned to overcome those struggles. Together, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and most importantly, we'll have fun. You'll leave each episode feeling hopeful and stocked full of useful information on how you can better yourself and the world around you. Hello, friends. I am so excited because this is the 50th episode of the show. 50. Y'all, this is a tremendous milestone because I started this podcast back in May of 2020 with no idea that it would continue this long. I mean, I started it. This is obviously a very vulnerable topic, and it's not easy for anybody to do what I'm doing, which is just be so open and vulnerable on the fucking internet. But this is just so exciting for me because I have made it to 50 episodes. 50. There was a rocky beginning. There were ups and downs. There were times that I just felt like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, but I'm still here 50 episodes in, and I can't keep going until I hit 100 or 250 or 500, whatever it might be. I'm here to stay, and I'm excited to hit this milestone with you. So if you want, you can clap. I'll pretend that I hear it. So another thing I wanted to tell you guys about, let's just do some announcements real quick to start. If you have been reading about my travel experiences to India, or if you're just somebody who likes to read about travel experiences and want to know more about my recent trip to India back in March, I have finally gotten another article written in my blog post series. So now both parts of day 1 and all of day 2 have been written, and they are ready for you to read so that you can live vicariously through me traveling throughout India. So if you're interested, just go on over to whatisheybales.com/travel, and you'll see all of the articles posted up there. And, I recommend starting with day 1, part 1, if you haven't read any, because it's a continuous story. So Monish's parents, they live there. That's who we went over to see. And I obviously send them all the articles as soon as I release them. And they told me that it's like a movie reading my blog posts, that they can picture how the things went. And they're just beautiful memories. And Monish's dad, who I call dad, even said that, that's not fair to just leave it. He wants more. He wants the next part of the story. So, so my goal is to get more of these out quicker. It's been a slow process. I've had a lot going on, but yeah, these are for you guys so you can learn about India and experience it through me, an American going over there as more than just a tourist. So also, I've got some new items up in my Etsy shop, Bailey's Way Designs. I have got some awesome fabric bookmarks for that book reader in your life, or for yourself if you're a book reader like me. I've added some amazing new t-shirts and tank tops, and I've got the cutest 4th of July outfit set for your toddler. My shop is growing slowly but surely, so if nothing interests you just yet, dude, just hit the little favorite button on the shop on your Etsy app, so that way you will get a notification when a new amazing handmade item has dropped that I have created. You can also get 15% off your first order from my Etsy shop by signing up for the coupon. So the link for the coupon is going to be in the show notes. You can also find it in the episode description on whatever platform you're listening on. So who doesn't love a coupon? I know I love coupons. So if you're planning at some point to purchase something from me, dude, get the freaking coupon. Like, I am promoting coupons for life. All right, friends, have y'all heard about this little magic productivity drink called Magic Mind? So first of all, y'all should know by now that I am super productive, most of the time at least. And just when I thought I couldn't be any more productive, my friends at Magic Mind came around. They sent me some samples and they showed me that I can be more productive. So what's super great about Magic Mind is that it has the benefits of coffee just without all of that extra caffeine. And I can't have extra caffeine. I can only have 1 cup of coffee a day. So what's great is that Magic Mind does what coffee does, which is give me more energy. But what coffee doesn't do that Magic Mind does is that it gives me lasting energy, which allows me to focus and helps me to also stay calm without some crash later on throughout the day. Another thing that I love is that they use all natural ingredients. So as I mentioned earlier, my partner Monish, he's from India, and when he read the ingredients on these bottles, he was thrilled to see that I'm now consuming something daily that has ashwagandha in it, because in India, ashwagandha root is known for relieving stress. So he actually takes ashwagandha supplements daily, and he is so pleased that I'm finding an awesome way to incorporate it into my life, because now we are both seeing the benefits. So for the next 10 days, you can get 40% off your first purchase so that you can give this little magic elixir drink a try for yourself. So head on over to magicmind.co/joy and enter code JOY, that's JOY, at checkout. And the great thing is they have a money-back guarantee, although I guarantee that you will find it just amazing as I do. So if you're looking for a way to increase your energy, relieve stress, and stay calm throughout the crazy swings of life, you've definitely got to give Magic Mind a try. So don't forget to go on over to magicmind.co/joy and use code JOY at checkout. You can also find this link in the show notes for the episode. That's magicmind.co and use code JOY. Okay, friends, so let's jump right on into today's episode, The Body Keeps the Score. So this is actually the title of a book written by Dr. Bessel van Der Kolk. Okay, let me try that again. Dr. Bessel van Der Kolk. And just to clarify, this is not going to be a book review episode. I'm not going to sit here and just review the damn book with you. I know some of y'all would probably love that, and there are podcasts out there that do that, and that is great. I don't do that here. I don't. I post a blog post once a year with my own book reviews. You can read some of those if you'd like, and this will be on there for the end of 2022. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you about some of the things that I've learned from this book, as well as how I've been able to keep on reading it. Okay, so you're probably like, keep on reading it. What does that mean? So if you've never heard of this book before, let's start at the very beginning so I can give you the full picture. So first off, I'm going to start by reading you the book blurb from the back cover of the book. So bear with me. Let me find my book over here. Oh, and shout out to my best friend Victor for gifting this book to me for my birthday. You are awesome. You are such an amazing friend. And y'all, Victor is such a good friend of mine. He and I talk therapy. We talk healing. We talk so many deep things. We are both Brene Brown lovers. He's gifted me some of her books as well. But this book specifically, it was something I was wanting, and I didn't want to try to check it out from the library because I knew I wasn't going to finish it in 2 weeks. So anyways, thank you, Victor. Now let's get back to what I was starting to do, which is read that book blurb for y'all. Okay, so at the top, there is a sentence that says, "A pioneering researcher transforms our understanding of trauma and offers a bold new paradigm for healing." I think I pronounced paradigm right. I'll put this quote in the show notes. Y'all can correct me if I was wrong. Anyways, it goes on to say that trauma is a fact of life. Veterans and their families deal with the painful aftermath of combat. 1 in 5 Americans has been molested. 1 in 4 grew up with alcoholics, and 1 in 3 couples have engaged in physical violence. Dr. Bessel van Der Kolk, one of the world's foremost experts on trauma, has spent over 3 decades working with survivors. In The Body Keeps the Score, he uses recent scientific advances to show how trauma literally shapes both body and brain, composing sufferers' capacities for pleasure, engagement, self-control, and trust. He explores innovative treatments from neurofeedback and meditation to sports, drama, and yoga that offer new paths to recovery by activating the brain's natural neuroplasticity. Based on Dr. van der Kolk's own research and that of other leading experts, The Body Keeps the Score exposes the tremendous power of our relationships, both to hurt and to heal, and offers new hope for reclaiming lives. Okay, so now that I've read this, I'm sure some of y'all are feeling hopeful, as I definitely was about reading this book, so that you can learn how to heal some past traumas, yeah? I mean, especially that last sentence. Oh, that was so good. So people can reclaim their lives. So first, let me point out 4 words that were used in the beginning of this book blurb, and we're going to talk more about them and why I'm pointing them out. So these words are veterans in combat, molested, alcoholics, and physical violence. Okay, you caught me. That's actually 6 words. But yeah, those are 4 different things that were listed at the beginning. And these are very, very heavy words and heavier topics for most people to talk about, to read about, or to even learn about. And these topics are spoken about often throughout the duration of this book. But I mean, let's get real, guys. How can you discuss how to heal from trauma without actually talking about what traumatizes people? You can't. You just can't. You can't. And trust me from experience on this one, because I've been working on my own personal healing journey for the past 3 to 4 years with my therapist. And she told me from the get-go that in terms of healing, things will get worse before they get better, because you will have to revisit those awful memories that you've shoved so far down and have tried to forget. So y'all, there's an awesome lyric line from Fall Out Boy, which is one of my all-time favorite bands, in their song Miss Missing You, that says, "Sometimes before it gets better, the darkness gets bigger." And back when my therapist told me that, things are going to get worse before they get better in terms of my healing journey, that was the lyrics that instantly came into my head and just sang to me. Sometimes before it gets better, the darkness gets bigger. I'm going to put the YouTube video for this. I'm sure there's got to be a music video, if not, one that includes the lyrics for this song. I hated this song at first, but that line has just stuck with me, and it's so fucking true. It is so true. While I'm nowhere near where I want to be in my journey to healing, I have experienced this. It sucks. Healing sucks, and it's hard. And for those of you who are working towards it yourself, dude, you are so brave, and I am so proud of you, because it is not fun. It is not easy, and it takes a lot of courage to say, okay, I'm going to revisit all of these shitty things that are stuck in my mind that happened when I was younger, so that way I can move forward from them and no longer allow them to affect and control me. So kudos to you if you're already in your healing journey, and if you're looking to start your journey and you haven't just yet, I believe in you and you can do this. All right, so back to the book. So when I told my therapist that I was reading this book, this is literally what she said to me, you guys. Like, almost verbatim. So she told me that if my nightmares worsen, that I need to stop reading the book. That if I begin to feel triggered while reading, I need to stop reading the book. She also told me that she's had patients call her in the past and tell her that this book was super triggering for them, and that they were concerned that this was written for the general public to read. And so All of this might sound a little scary, and I'm sorry for chuckling if it does sound scary to you, but I feel that it's necessary to warn you in the ways that I was warned, because this book does describe details recounted from patients whose names have obviously been changed to protect their identity, and it recounts their trauma that they experienced in detail. And they talk about details of all types of those traumas that I previously mentioned. Veteran combat trauma, molestation trauma, trauma created by alcoholic parents, and trauma caused by physical violence, whether it be from parents, family members, or even a domestic partner. So after hearing that, there's all these details in there that could be triggering and upsetting to readers, why should anybody read this book? You're probably sitting here, you're so confused because I'm here saying, read the book. But you're hearing this and you're like, ugh, why would I want to read that? So let me give you some of the takeaways that I have taken from reading the book. I don't know a better way to say that. A little redundant. But the biggest takeaway that I have found so far, in my own opinion, is that this book explains how trauma changes the brain and what behaviors may result from these changes. So y'all, this is not only fascinating to me, because it's very fascinating, but it has more importantly helped me to learn why I have engaged in some negative behaviors in the past, knowing full and well that I shouldn't engage in them, but not being able to stop myself from doing so. Yeah, hopefully that made sense. But I've engaged in some very, very shitty behaviors, knowing I shouldn't do them, did them anyways, but not sure why I couldn't stop myself. But the things I've learned in this book have helped me to understand why I couldn't stop myself. And there are other behaviors of mine that I have done unconsciously and I've later suffered the consequences from. And so learning about why I have unconsciously done some of these things has really helped me to understand that it is not my fault, that my brain has been affected due to trauma, and because of that, I have engaged in things unconscious to myself that I probably shouldn't have done. And this is so fucking important, you guys, when you are working towards healing, is to understand that there are things that are not your fault. They're not. And just a reminder to anyone who needs to hear it right now in this moment, if any traumatic incidents have ever happened to you throughout your life, it was not your fault. You cannot control the behaviors of others, and you are not the cause of somebody else's shitty behaviors towards you, regardless of what they might have told you. Okay? So in this book, it also explains how parental neglect as a child is a huge factor contributing to how children will turn out as adults and the behaviors and issues that come along from that. So again, this was very, very important for me to learn and to understand because I was emotionally neglected as a child, which caused damages that I can now understand having read this book. Or let me be clear, having read part of this book. I'm still reading it. It also explains how generational neglect is an issue. So meaning that if your grandma emotionally neglected your mom, then your mom will most likely do the same to you because she doesn't know any better. She's just doing what was done to her. And so that's what she thinks needs to be done. This book has also helped me to understand why my body reacts to things sometimes that are just completely uncontrollable to me. So a really good example of this is when I described in the previous episode, Nightmares and Trauma, how my PTSD actually feels when I'm riding in the car with somebody else. Y'all, there are physical feelings involved once trauma has been experienced, and they don't just go away on their own. The body keeps the score couldn't be couldn't be a more perfect title for this book, because the book constantly gives so many examples that describe uncontrollable physical reactions that people experience that are derived from unhealed trauma in their past. So if you haven't tuned into Nightmares and Trauma yet, go back and check it out. You need to understand what I'm talking about. But like an example from the book that I remember, I'm not going to go back and find the page. That would take way too long, and you guys don't have time for that. But an example that they give is that a woman who was, she was molested as a child. She was trying to engage in a relationship with a man, and when he came to lean in to kiss her, she got freaked out and slapped him because she didn't know, it was just not a good feeling for her when it's supposed to be a good feeling. And then she felt terrible, and then he left, and they never spoke again, and it was awful. Now, I definitely did not quote that word for word because there are way more graphic details about that in the book, but that's basically what happened. A physical reaction came that she could not control because of how she'd been traumatized as a child. One of many examples, and these are very important things for us to learn, you guys, especially because 1 in 4 Americans, 1 in 3 Americans, 1 in 5 Americans, these are massive statistics, big numbers. And whether or not you realize it, you may have experienced something traumatic as a child too. And maybe you're realizing you've got some behaviors, you're not sure where they're coming from. And reading this book could help you figure it out, because it's helped me. Let me just tell you that. So, most importantly of all, let me tell you how I've been able to read through this book without becoming triggered myself, without taking on the pain of other people's traumatic stories, and without having my nightmares increase in their intensity, which was the fear that my therapist had when I told her I started reading this book. So first of all, I need to start by saying that while I don't know a whole lot about my parents' childhoods, because they just didn't share that shit with us, in recent times, I've learned that my grandparents weren't as loving to my mom as they were to us, and us being the kids of my mom. I've learned that my mom actually experienced some pretty awful, painful shit while growing up, and this shit is what shaped her into the person that she is today. So with that being said, while reading this book, instead of reflecting on myself the entire time, which I could have easily done, more often than not, I read this book as a way to understand why my mom behaved the way that she did and how her traumas affected her ability to be a mother. So while reading this book, I do everything that I can to make the narrative about her, not about me, so that I don't become triggered, and also to help me not to take on any of these traumatic experiences that I'm reading about as my own. If I'm thinking about these traumatic experiences outside of the person who is talking about them in the book, I try to put my mom in their shoes, not me in their shoes. Because if I put me in somebody else's shoes, I am taking on their pain. And I guarantee you that's why so many people have just stopped reading this book, because they're putting themselves in the shoes and they're taking on the pain. So instead, I know that my mom has dealt with some things, and I'm putting her in those shoes, and I'm realizing, oh shit, that is why she behaved the way she did towards me. It wasn't my fault. I don't need to take any of that. That's not mine to take. That is her lived experiences, and she was pushing her pain to me, which wasn't fair to me. But when I can understand that, I can say, you know what? That pain is not mine to take, and I can shove it on back. And that's what I've been doing. And that's what's helped me. One of the things that's helped me. Also, as I continue to read this book, and, full disclosure, I'm on page 178 because it really is a tough read, y'all. It is. There's over 300 pages, I believe, and it's taken me a while. Not gonna lie. But I am constantly reminding myself while I'm reading this book that I'm reading it for knowledge, for research, and for understanding. And that the traumatic stories that I'm reading are somebody else's stories, not mine. And y'all, it's not easy to keep reminding myself this. It's not. That's why it's taking me so long to read this book that I started reading months ago. But it's helped me tremendously so that I don't try to take on all of these people's stories as my own narrative or allow these stories to bring up my own traumatic memories. And guys, there are a few stories about a traumatic car traumatic car accident at the very beginning of the book. And I really thought that my nightmares would increase because of my own traumatic experiences with car wrecks and that my PTSD from them and all of that. But because I kept myself as a third party who was merely reading about somebody else's experiences, I truly believe that that's why I wasn't triggered by them, nor did my nightmares become centered around my car accidents. Again, this is hard. It's hard to sit here and read about, terrible things people have been through and not try to feel for them and empathize with them and put yourself in their shoes. It's hard. That's why it's taking me a long time to read this book. But if you're able to do that and sit back and constantly say, you know what, this is not my story. This is not my pain to take on, but I can read about it and I can feel for them, but I don't have to feel the pain that they felt. You'll be able to read through this. Again, it'll be slow, it'll take time, but it's worth it, guys. It's worth it. And guys, lastly, I am constantly reminding myself that I am reading this book to try to understand my own behaviors so that I can seek the help that I need in therapy to change them. I am not here to criticize myself. I am not here to criticize my parents or my grandparents. I am here to learn and to understand in the pursuit of healing and growth. Because if you can't understand where these things come from, you can't change them. So having the mindset of, I'm here to understand, I'm here to learn, I'm here to do better, not I'm here to criticize myself and feel sorry for myself, it is a game changer. And again, that mindset is hard. And I understand if some of y'all aren't able to do that right now. And if you aren't, dude, don't pick up this book. The last thing I want you to do is to become triggered by reading this book. So if you're not in a healthy mental space where you can read this without taking on other people's pain, then my opinion is that you hold off. You talk to your therapist, you talk to someone and say, hey, I think this is a good book. What are your thoughts on me reading it? And go from there. Because that's what my therapist warned me. She did. So if you have a therapist and you're thinking to help, read this book to help yourself, talk to them about it first is my suggestion. Because again, I don't want you to be triggered. And I apologize if anything in this episode was triggering. But I'm here to help you guys understand that this book is very, very helpful if you can read it from a perspective that I've mentioned, one of my perspectives. So if you have already read this book or if you are currently reading it, dude, I would love for you to reach out and tell me a bit about it and what your thoughts are on it. You can do so by sending me a DM on Instagram or just head on over to the website at whatisheybellsdoing.com/contact and just send me a message. You can send it anonymously if you want. I don't care. I mean, I just want to hear from you. I don't have to know your name, but I'm just curious of anybody who's read this, who has tried to read this or is currently reading this, what your thoughts are. And also what your thoughts are on my thoughts on reading this. I'm curious. I really am. I want to hear from you. So again, whatisheybellsdoing.com/contact, and I'd love to hear from you. It's time for What a Weirdo! Okay, y'all. So this segment is here as a way for us to normalize weird habits that we all have, but might not necessarily talk about. And it's a way to create some wholesome laughter at the end of each episode, as sometimes we discuss some very difficult topics. And y'all, we all have weird habits. We do. And my hopes is that you'll be able to say, hey, me too, when listening to this segment, and that it'll help you feel less alone in the weird shit that you do, or the weird shit that I do. So if you've been tuning into the show regularly, you've likely heard all of my weirdo habits. So now it's time to send in yours. And today we have an anonymous submission from the website that reads, I eat college-ruled paper. Yes, paper, LOL. The condition is called pica, where people consume things like paper, pencil, tree bark, and some other weird things. But medically, I have a rare blood disorder, so I can't be put on iron because it's going to throw off my numbers. So instead, I eat paper, and I enjoy it. But it has to be college-ruled paper, and I've tasted all different types, and I've settled with the college-ruled. I even cut them into little strips, and my daughter calls them my chicken strips. LOL. Oh man, I love this. I'm smiling. You can't see it through your headphones or your speaker, but I'm smiling because I've never heard of pica before, and I'm totally going to Google it now that I have learned about it a little bit. But eating paper, y'all, I feel like there's definitely, my strange addictions, there's totally somebody on, she was eating toilet paper. That's different. You eat college rolled paper. We're very specific here. But I love that your daughter calls your paper strips your chicken strips. That is absolutely hilarious. So thank you for sharing, Anonymous. I appreciate this. And y'all, if you're listening and you say me too, I hope this brings you a sense of like, oh my God, it's not just me. So speaking of, what weirdo habits do you have? Send in your anonymous submissions by heading on over to whatisheybellsdoing.com/whataweirdo. And if you're not worried about anonymity and you want me to give you a shout out, dude, I'm happy to include your name or your Instagram name in your submission. So just go onto my DMs on Instagram at distressedtojoyful_Baileysway and send it there if you want me to give you a shout out. I am so happy to do so. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about what depression feels like for me specifically. So the thing with bipolar disorder is that we deal with two sides of the spectrum, the highs and the lows. The highs being mania or hypomania, and the lows being depression. But depression is its own disorder in itself too. And while each person who experiences depression will feel it differently, I want to share with you how I feel when I'm dealing with my depressive episodes so that some of y'all might say, oh yeah, me too. I feel that too, or I do those things too. But also so that those of you who have never experienced depression before in your life, you can get a good understanding of what it can be like for somebody who is going through it. So this is an episode that you don't want to miss, especially if you have somebody in your life who you know deals with depression. And I'd be surprised if you didn't, because we live in America in 2022. I feel like so many of us deal with this on maybe not a regular basis, but at some point in our lives. So thank you for tuning into the show. Be sure to follow the show on Instagram at distressedtojoyful_Baileysway and head on over to the website at whatisheybellsdoing.com to check out all of the show notes from this episode. Again, that is whatisheybellsdoing.com. If you enjoyed this episode, y'all help spread the word by leaving a rating on Spotify or writing me a review on Apple Podcast. Who knows? I just might read your review on an upcoming episode. And lastly, don't forget to hit that little subscribe button on your favorite podcast listening platform so that you can stay up to date with all of the new episode releases. But until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye!